When you're navigating relationship repair, whether it's trying to get back with your ex, trying to repair the relationship that you're still in, the one thing that can come up a lot is this idea of your partner or ex-partner dating other people. And there can be a lot of mistakes when navigating this situation. So in this video, I'm going to break down why you shouldn't fear your partner or ex-partner dating other people and why your response right now is going to make or break the next stages of repair. So I can get the worry, I can get the panic that, let's say you've been through a breakup or you're separated and your partner wants to explore a relationship with another person, especially as you start to make changes and started to grow in the right direction. This idea that there are going to be other people in the scene can feel like it's the end of the relationship, can feel like the door is closing very quickly on you and this chance of the relationship continuing forward. The problem is that oftentimes this panic, this worry, and this fear of the door closing on your relationship can lead to a lot of impulsive, ineffective actions that actually get in the way of repairing the relationship. Because it can feel like there's no hope for reconciliation. Once they are in another relationship, it feels like the door, the timing is closing for the chance of getting back together again. But nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is that during this period, this can actually be a chance for a massive amount of repair of the relationship. So I want to break down some of the reasons why and what we can do to shift our perspective on it in order to continue to rebuild the relationship back long term. So the very first mistake that people make is trying to control what their partner does. They actually internally don't accept it and they want to try to prevent their partner or their ex-partner from dating other people. This in itself can lead to a lot of toxic and controlling behaviors. If you're not accepting the situation right now, it can lead you to try to talk down to your partner, to shout at your partner, to give some sort of ultimatum. That action in itself has a massive, massive impact on the way that your partner or ex-partner sees the potential relationship with you. If you're struggling to accept their decision right now, then from their perspective, it paints a bleak future for your potential relationship. So it's really important in this situation right now to practice what we call radical acceptance. So in this instance, it's really important to own the reality. The reality is that if you and your partner are broken up or you're separated, whatever it is, they are free to date. That is completely outside of your control. The more that you try to control it, the more that you end up getting more and more pushed back, the more that you push your relationship further and further away. This is what my members and I call falling for the paradox of control. The more that you try to control something outside of yourself, the less control you end up having over it. And the more you increase the chances of any future control or influence on that situation. This feels really counterintuitive. Feels our impulse can be that we want to fight that. We want to fighting for the relationship. So we can convince ourselves that fighting for the relationship means stopping our partner from exploring other relationships. Convincing yourself that this should not be happening is only going to create more and more suffering for you. It's really crucial to practice radical acceptance. Accept the current situation. The current situation is as a result of everything that came before it. The more that we focus on accepting this situation and the path that led there, the easier it is to focus on what we can do moving forward. So there is no magic bullet right now to change your partner's mind or your ex-partner's mind. The situation right now has happened because of many, many small things along the way. So if your partner is looking to explore a different relationship, accepting that as a reality, as a result of what has happened beforehand, becomes a lot easier to let go of control and to focus on what you can do now in order to influence the future. And this is really crucial because there's this worry that your partner or ex-partner dating is going to end this potential relationship that you have, that they need to cling on to the old version of the relationship. But again, part of radical acceptance is accepting the fact that the old version of the relationship did not work. If it did work, then it would still be existing right now. So part of radical acceptance in this instance is accepting that the old version of the relationship did not work. And in letting go of that old version of the relationship allows you to start afresh with a new version of the relationship with the same person. That is better than the old version and potentially better than any other option out there. And that's really crucial. letting go of the old relationship and building a relationship 2.0 is going to allow you to let go of the old stuff that doesn't work, know what did work, and be able to build from there. And this is going to be really crucial when your partner is dating other people, exploring other relationships. It keeps the focus on you and what you can control, which is creating a new version of this relationship. The thing is, a lot of people in this situation worry about other people in the picture, and they're asking themselves, will this work? Maybe they'll prefer the relationship with the other person. Maybe they'll find somebody better than I am. And it starts disempowering you on the things that you can take action on. So rather than asking yourself, can I rebuild this relationship? Instead, start shifting to more empowering questions to yourself, which is, if this relationship were to work, how would it be done? Let's say this future relationship, this version 2.0 of the relationship were to happen, how would it be done? And you'll start to get a lot stronger answers. When people date around, oftentimes they cross their fingers and rely on luck. They're not very scientific with making a relationship work. They have it in their head that it either works or it doesn't. This is what leads to so many arguments and discussions and fights, is that they are just crossing their fingers and hoping that this is a relationship, is the one, is the soulmate. But you can be very scientific about relationships. This may sound very unromantic, but looking at it from an objective point of view, in terms of a relationship as a system, looking at the system and saying, if this were to work, how would it work? It becomes a lot easier to look at your role within that system and say, okay, how would this work? I can improve my communication skills. I can improve my emotional skills. I can improve how I approach challenges, how I step up to challenges rather than backing down from them. I can choose how I approach the world. It becomes a lot more empowering because you're looking at a potential relationship in the future and you're asking yourself, if this were to work, how would that happen? And this is what business owners do when they're laying out a business plan. How would it work? What are the challenges? How are we going to overcome those challenges? They don't live in this romantic dream world of hope for their business. They look at it from an outside-in perspective and say, what are the challenges? How do we overcome them? How do we move this forward? And it means that they put a lot more of the power back into their hands as to how to navigate these challenges. So you get a lot stronger answers and a lot more of an effective path forward. The truth is that when it comes to your partner or ex-partner exploring other relationships, it actually is a massive opportunity to undo the expectancy bias against your potential relationship 2.0. Expectancy bias, for those who don't know, expectancy bias is your partner looking at the previous evidence of the relationship as evidence for now how it wouldn't work. So when it comes to other relationships, their expectation on how you're going to act in this situation will be a certain way. Maybe they expect you to get angry. Maybe they expect you to try to control what they do. They expect you to fail to understand why they want to explore the relationships right now. They expect you to shut down communication. They expect you to create these topics that are taboo, right? That are not allowed to be spoken about. I refuse to talk about your new man or your new girlfriend. So when they expect you to act in a certain way, that a lot of other people would act in the same way, and then you do act in that way, that confirms their idea of a potential future with you. But if you're undoing expectancy bias, i.e. trying to build counter evidence against their bias against the relationship, then it means acting in ways that they're not expecting. So if they're expecting you to get angry about dating other people, the opposite of that would be that you're leaning into it, that you're talking about it. If they expect you to try to control what they do, the opposite of that would be to give them the complete freedom to explore whatever relationship they want. If they expect you to be judgmental about it, would be showing and understanding why they may want to be doing this right now. If they think that you're not going to understand their feelings right now, then doing the opposite would be showing a deep understanding of their feelings. If they think that you're going to storm off and not speak to them because they're exploring other relationships, the opposite would be to open up communication about them exploring other relationships. If they expect this topic to be taboo and for them to not be able to speak about, then the opposite would be showing that this topic is completely open and they're free to express themselves and talk about it as much as they want. So undoing expectancy bias towards this potential relationship is building a lot of counter evidence that their negative expectations are not necessarily true, but it's showing through actions, showing up in the right ways and showing up as the best version of yourself. And this is what makes you different to the potential other relationships out there. If you've seen my video on building the blue ocean strategy for relationships, 99% of people out there, when it comes to the idea of exploring other relationships, often do shut down. They get scared, they get jealous, they get fearful, they try to control what the partner does. But there's only a very small amount of people out there that don't see it as a threat, that see it as a growth opportunity, that sees it as the potential that it is to build connection to a massive degree. If you are showing up as the 1%, as what most people would not do because of their ego or pride or fear, if you're showing up as that 1%, that means that compared to the rest of the dating pool out there, you're showing up as the top 1%, and everyone else is going to be showing up as the 99%. And over time, as they explore other relationships, through your actions, they will be able to directly compare your actions to their actions. So if you want to stand out as the top candidate for a job, the 1% for a job application, you've got to do what 99% of people refuse to do in order to make that job application, to make the grade, to show up. The more we focus on showing up as the best version of ourselves, raising our own standards of execution, the more our outcomes become to a higher standard, the more that good things happen to us overall, and more focused on how we show up objectively day in, day out as our best self. And this is why, when it comes to self-growth, not just for repairing a relationship, but for all aspects of life, we should always be working on growing who we are and how we show up. You know, sometimes people speak with me and go, I only really want to invest in myself and grow and learn these skills if my ex-partner isn't dating somebody else. Or it's only if they say that they give me a chance. But what this tells your partner is that you don't value growth for the sake of growing. You don't want to really show up to a very high standard. You're only doing it conditionally if they want you back, which means if they do take you back, then you're going to stop because you've already got the outcome. You've already got what you wanted. So why bother? It means that you only hit a certain level and that you're not going to continue to grow and iterate on what you do. Because the truth is, in relationships, the threat of other people, other potential partners is never going to go away. We are not owed loyalty by other people. We have to earn trust through how we show up. We have to develop the best version of ourselves so that people around us choose to be in relationships with us. So when it comes to a partner dating other people, when it comes to becoming the best option, becoming the best potential partner for anyone, is that we need to outgrow the competition and we need to outlast the competition. We need to outgrow the competition by being the person that provides the highest standard, both in terms of what we bring to a relationship, but for ourselves, the standard at which we communicate and the actions that we perform. This is creating the best product that we can, but also outlasting the competition. And this is providing a very high consistency and increased standards over a period of time. This creates a proven track record of trust. This is the reputation building aspect. We need to constantly continue to show up and to improve and to iterate on what we do. And it's only through that that people will trust us. They develop trust towards us. They see who we are, even through the tough times, even through the times when they're exploring other relationships. Showing up in the toughest moments shows who we are as our character. So if you're consistently providing an extremely high level of emotional safety, intellectual intimacy, goal synergy, the core elements of relationships, if you're constantly growing that, then you're always going to be earning a high standard of outcomes in your life, in relationships, not just with your partner or ex-partner, but with friends, family, colleagues, because there is no shortcut to this. Once the focus is back on executing at a very high standard, it's only then when the relationship starts to turn around. I've worked with members whose partner considered exploring other relationships, sometimes even did explore other relationships, but because they focused on how they execute and how they show up and the standards that they are constantly striving towards, their partner could see by comparison that they were actually the best option. And this is one of the most crucial concepts to reconciliation, is that this isn't about script or tactics or manipulation. This is all about personal growth. It's about showing up as the best version of you and continuing to grow how you execute. And only then, once we're building that trust and reputation back, that the relationship starts to be rebuilt. And if you do want to start that journey and you want to learn the first steps to rebuilding back a relationship, then join my relationship bootcamp, where you're going to learn the same fundamentals that all of my members start with to start repairing and regrowing the relationships from the ground up. I'll drop a link in the description if you want to join us and grab your spot. So there is no shortcut to the reconciliation process. It's always going to be a slow start. It's always going to feel like a slow grind at first, but it's only through growth and iteration and showing up through the tough moments leads to a compounding effect. And this is why it's so crucial to continue to have the important conversations. You know, when a partner or ex-partner is exploring other relationships, they worry about fights. But the thing is that being able to show up in these conversations about potential other partners actually builds a lot of emotional safety. So this is not about avoiding conflict. It's about how you show up during this conflict that allows you to show up as the best version of yourself. I've actually done a deeper dive video on this, which is talking about how conflict is not something to be avoided, but actually the key to repair. But it's understanding how to navigate that conflict in the most effective way possible. So I'm going to leave you with that deep dive video, and I will see you over there.